This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, Double T coming up in little less than 30 minutes. Top 5 at 5 starts right now.
I'm going to read a tweet from Pat Forty yesterday.
Okay.
Your guy. Longtime writer in Louisville, right?
Yes.
And then he's at SI now, spent time with ESPN.
Correct.
Nuggets Thunder Game 7, PGA Final Round, NCAA Championship tennis matches for women and men, regional softball, Panthers Leafs Game 7. A lot happening today. And here's the follow-up. Denver, Oklahoma City, dud. PGA, dud.
Yeah.
Panthers Leafs, dud. It started so promisingly. So much going on. One of those Sundays, weather wasn't great yesterday. It was a little better than the day before, I think, in terms of temperature. By the afternoon, I think it got pretty nice, right, for a mid-May day here in the Twin Cities. But there wasn't a lot going on yesterday. And
a lot of build-up, a lot of anticipation, a lot of really interesting possibilities that led to pretty much nothing. You're right.
And from a
competitive standpoint.
Yeah, and for about 7 minutes, it looked like in Charlotte, North Carolina, the PGA Championship might be good, but then Jon Rahm melted down again, and Scottie Scheffler essentially walked to his third major championship at one of your favorites, Quail Hollow. He wins the tournament by posting an even par 71 in the final round. Now, I think he had like a 3 or 4 shot lead going into Sunday, so basically don't screw up, let people come get you. That is the old Tiger bit.
Yep.
And he didn't, but he wins it by 5, defeating something called Harris English, Bryson DeChambeau, and Davis Riley. So Sheffy, who, if you recall, a year ago, opened the PGA Championship by getting arrested just a few hours before his tee time, got to Charlotte with no incident and pretty much coasted after a really good round on Saturday that put himself in this position to win major number 3. And the guy that, everyone's talking about right now is this generation's best dude, adds another notch. I think his 15th career victory to go along with the third major.
The stats, the analytics on Scheffler are pretty interesting, right? Because a couple of them I saw was that yesterday that was his 140th professional start this past week in the PGA. He won 0 times in his first 70.
Yep.
And today, he won his 15th in his last 70. But the same individual, because there's a lot of now, this kind of sounded like Tiger a little bit. Same person points out, I hope this is accurate, that to catch up to Tiger's win rate through 250 starts, Scottie will have to win 56 of his next 110 starts. That's a number that is mind-boggling.
That's about half.
Won 71 times out of his first 250 starts. 71. I mean, in golf, that is absurd, is it not?
Yeah, it was a simpler time back then.
It really was on several levels.
Now, he's unquestioned number 1 right now, but it does show you the difference in levels. Now, let me ask you this. There's a couple of times recently where I've lamented the fact that our buddy, John Feinstein passed away a couple of months ago. Mm-hmm. And today will be one of those days.
Oh, yeah.
Not because of Scheffler, but because of his guy, Rory. Have you been following the Rory McIlroy stuff?
Well, a little bit. I've heard, yeah.
So he wins the Masters.
Yes.
I'm still heave crying when I see pictures from that. That was the other time where I just really missed him because he would have just loved. I would have loved to read what he wrote about that and just said about that. Rory's his guy. He in that studio, he talked to you about the relationship that they had and how much he respected him. Well, Rory went the entire week without talking to the media one time. He had his driver pulled earlier in the week, didn't pass some inspection that I didn't even know that they did. Apparently, Scheffler had the same issue. It's not that controversial. You just have to get a new driver and play with it. But he did not talk one time. For a guy that has been as eloquent on the mic, as understanding on the mic, the guy who has been a great spokesperson for golf the last, 10, 15 years, to literally not talk one time for a guy that I think does understand his place in the game.
What are the theories on this?
We don't know.
Okay.
No one can really figure it out. And other golf writers have picked up on it and said it wouldn't be that weird, except Rory himself has talked about the importance he feels as one of the guardians of the game or one of the best players of his generation to be out there and present. So I don't know. I don't know when he's going to talk again. He did say something in the Masters that they're not obligated to do it, but obviously ended up talking that entire week. But Feinstein, I think, as much as he likes Rory personally, would be all over his guy for this.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yes, realistically.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it is strange. Well, I don't know. I mean, but he hasn't, obviously.
He has not spoken.
He hasn't spoken, so nobody so far has been able to ask him about this.
So, anyway.
All right, fair enough.
Twins are back in action tonight. They lose yesterday, so the winning streak is snapped. They did, believe it or not, though. We've been saying the last handful of, last week or so that they're on this torrid pace, but they haven't made up much ground. That's true, but they actually begin tonight, Dan, in second place in the American League Central. The Guardians have lost 4 in a row as they come here tonight.
Yeah.
The Royals have lost 6 of 10. So with the Twins going 9-1
so we're
here,
tightening it up a little.
So we're 5 games back of the Tigers. Yeah. We're a half game ahead of the Guardians and Royals. So we're neck and neck tonight. As it stands, they are in second place.
5 games is meaningless before you hit July 1st.
You know what they say.
Was that the TK rule? I think what month did TK say? I don't even look at how many games behind we are, games ahead we are until
probably July.
Was it July 1st or was it August 1st? Probably July 1st.
Lavelle's always listening. He'll text both of us.
Yeah. Somebody just called us, actually. I don't know who, but.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
On the hotline?
Well, you're kind of busy. Yeah. I mean, It's hard for you to see. Yeah, it looked like somebody was calling the hotline. Not sure.
Here's Rocco on the injuries that have now piled up, including with Byron Buxton.
That's that's definitely a psychological piece to baseball that I think when you get to the major league level, you're playing 162 games plus 30 games in spring training, and there's no time to sit back. There's only time to lean forward, and that's what we have to do. And our roster is not going to look the same without Buck or Correa, but the way we've been pitching, we're going to be in every game. So it's just going to take someone different doing one big thing in the game to put us on top. And we got to lean on our pitching to continue to do well.
And Bailey Ober is the guy they will lean on tonight. He's 4-1 on the season with a 3.72 ERA. First pitch, unless it rains, Minnesota and Cleveland tonight is 6:40.
I think it's fair to say, is it not, that we're still... we threw, we sent down, we demoted Simeon Woods Richardson.
Yep.
And we went with Zebby yesterday. That did not go well.
It went well for the first inning.
In the back of the rotation is still, I would say, that part of it is a work in progress. We talked with Rocco about Chris Paddock is coming on in very encouraging fashion. So that's something that they indeed have to deal with. And he did tell us that the big lummox, Carson McCusker, who measures, I swear to you, they say he's 6'8". When I saw him at the plate, he looked 7 feet to me. It was bizarre.
Tall cleats.
Old enough, for those of you old enough in the audience, remember David Kingman. That's how he looks. I'm thinking Dave Kingman. The bat looks like a toothpick in his hands, for God's sake. He's been a feast or famine guy. We find him from the Independent League. Feast or famine guy, a lot of home runs, too many strikeouts, but I think he's in the, I think Rocco pretty much confirmed with us that he's in the lineup tonight.
Yes. I don't have the lineup pulled up. I can maybe get it before the break. But yeah, he said he's going out there tonight. So good for him. More baseball discussion on Thursday. Aaron Gleeman will join you in studio. Probably
good.
some Wolves Game 2 talk, as well as Twins talk with Aaron Gleeman from Gleeman and the Geek. Speaking of the Wolves, they learned their Western Conference Finals opponent. It will, in fact, be the top-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. They rout Denver yesterday afternoon in Game 7.
That wasn't KG calling the hotline, was it? Are we going to look back on it that we blew our chance on K? And by the way, I think today's his birthday.
It is his birthday, yeah.
What if he called us on his birthday and we blew it?
It haunted me for a second, but then I know that in the millions of messages I've sent Kevin Garnett, and it's about millions.
Is it millions? Yeah.
I don't think I've ever just given him the hotline number.
Well, maybe that's your mistake.
You think I should just give it to him?
Hell yes. Can't hurt. He's not going to be irresponsible with it. It's not like he's going to call you like the way Bobby Hagan has tended to over the years.
Yeah, do you know what line it was? Because that might have been Hagan.
It was...
if it was 11...
It was 11.
The problem is it's either Swedberg or Hagan.
Yeah.
One of them I have to get.
Ooh, yeah, you don't want to mess
boss.
that. Yeah.
The other one is Bob Hagan, who wants to talk about Tennis Tuesdays tomorrow night.
Enough said.
Enough said.
Exactly.
And I get it when I can. So the Wolves get the Thunder tomorrow night, and then it's Pacers and Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Only 4 teams, Dan, can win the NBA championship, and one of them is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Those are just
Of course,
facts.
that was true a year ago, too, and it didn't work out very well. But at least we're back there. Who's favored by the odds makers, Knicks, Pacers?
I believe the Knicks slightly.
I
just, I'll go right back to the website that I just closed, because the Timberwolves are on the money line plus 245, which I think is a pretty substantial number.
It is.
The Thunder minus 305. The Thunder are 7.5-point favorites tomorrow, which, because of how they play, things get pear-shaped. They, I think, cover spreads more.
They do, yes.
Than probably most teams do, because they can just go on a heater forever. The Knicks are minus 180 to win the series. The Pacers plus 150. So, decent favorites for the Knicks, slight favorites for the Knicks.
Texter wanted to know if Sam Mitchell has taken a position on this series, and he has. He'll be with us, I'm sure, later in the week. But for the record, he is picking the Timberwolves to win in 6. Now, my guess is that might be very purposeful, because you get into that whole deal of, well, can you really win in 7 in Okie City, or is that asking for too much? So the logical choice is you steal one in Okie City early.
Yeah, get it done.
You tilt home ice advantage in your favor, and then you wrap things up at 6, which would be quite a night at Target Center if that indeed took place to get to the NBA Finals. You kidding me?
A week from this Friday. It would be a week from this Friday if that happens. By the way, defense deploy, Randy Foy, Jiggly Boy, Wolves in 5.
That's
we got to
very
bring
good.
those back this week, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Why would we stop now?
Lynx are 2-0. They beat the Sparks yesterday, so they beat Paige Beckers on Friday night, I believe it was.
Yes, they did.
And then yesterday they beat the Sparks. They return home. Their home opener is Wednesday night. At Target
Against
Center.
Beckers, right?
Yes, against the Dallas Wings again.
Against Dallas, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what we got that game, like the first 2, right here on The Fan.
All right, we've got housekeeping items to get to in the kind of a potpourri segment next, and then we'll prepare for Trent Tucker at the bottom of the hour.
Fan and BigDeck.com. I want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. You can enter the keyword WIN, W-I-N, at KFAN.com for your shot at winning. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword WIN.
Discover the life-changing benefits of Meow Greens for your cat. Ever see your cat slowing down or having health issues and wonder, what can I do to make them better? Well, my friend, add Meow Greens to your cat's food for 90 days, and I guarantee you'll see changes that will amaze you. Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, inventor of Meow Greens, and I invite you to take the Meow Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 30 days, you'll see shinier coats and increased energy. By day 60, your cat will have a stronger immune system, less shedding, improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients that you've added to their diet. And at 90 days, they're going to have better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you may even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch a free Jumpstart trial bag for your cat today. Go to trymeowgreens.com. Use promo code TRYMEOW. That's try, M-E-O-W. You discover the shipping. You don't have to change your cat's food to improve your cat's health. Just add a packet of Meow Greens.
Join Corey Cove down at Treasure Island for a midday baseball watch party May 21st, just a couple of days from now. Catch Minnesota versus Cleveland in parlay starting just afternoon. Free food and plenty of prizes. Don't miss out. All the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
guy Rick is mocking Sam Mitchell picking the Wolves in 5. Might be a little too heavy into the bowl because, as we just said a couple times, Sam picks the Wolves in 6. Because Rick is saying Oklahoma City will win in 6 games. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Sam did not say 5. He said 6. You did the rhyming. I mean, everybody's doing the rhyming thing for obvious reasons, and that always has to be. Well, can we change it to Wolves in 6, even though the origination of it was Lakers in 5? They got the whole poetry thing, the rhyming thing started.
I think 5 is the perfect sounding syllable.
It is.
Wolves in 5.
Yeah.
Not Wolves in 6.
How old is KG today?
Yeah, I don't know.
Double check his age. I'm pretty sure today is his birthday. And are there any early murmurings, rumors about a KG visit to Target Center for either games 3 or 4, Saturday or Memorial Day Monday?
Man, Saturday would be great.
To start the whole process, the whole, bring KG back movement, be a great place for it to start. Now, maybe he's waiting for the Wolves to get to the NBA Finals. I don't know.
Well, he did that a year ago, and he never got to come.
Never worked out, yeah.
Never got to come.
Maybe the better approach would be to... He's a busy man, I'm sure.
We'll be listening to his podcast these first couple of days. I'm sure he'll talk about it a little bit. He and Paul Pierce will give their predictions.
There's no question.
Paul Pierce will pick the Thunder, and then Ticket will say, I'm riding with my Wolves. KG's 49 years old.
49 years old.
Yeah, how about that?
Big 5-0 next year. Think about it.
Hopefully back here at Target Center.
Shea, Clay, Tina Fey, Wolves in 5.
Who's the Clay?
I guess Klay Thompson. I don't know.
Did he spell it with a K?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did spell it with a K.
All right.
So I would assume that's Klay Thompson.
Hadn't thought about her for a while.
Charlie from Prior Lake writes, I've already run into Jiggly Boy twice in these playoffs alone, both times in his patented number 15 shirt jersey. I got my hopes up both times if KG would be in the building. We will indeed see. Yeah, that would make sense. If you're going to have KG back, then you probably want to make sure Jiggly Boy is back there again, like was the case when KG returned as a player, right?
Yes.
With Flip.
Yep, that night.
The last time around. It was
electric.
Well, the beauty of Jiggly Boy is what a good actor he is. Like pretending that this is all like, what do you want from me? I'm a fan here to watch the game. And then, of course, he transforms himself as he's stripping down into...
Got the 30 shirts on.
Jiggly Boy. Yeah.
He's so good at taking the shirt off, too.
Yes. He sells that part well, and he's got all the moves down.
But nothing ever gets hung up. Like, nothing ever gets snagged on his shoulder or his head.
Yeah.
Like, the shirt is off so quickly to throw it.
Is this the problem? KG isn't going to show up if Glenn Taylor is courtside?
Probably.
Was it simple? With KG, it might be.
Yes.
It might be. But the problem with that is that he might never show because Glenn Taylor, by all accounts, is going to get he's going to keep his courtside seats. So we're going to wait for Taylor to for an off night on him? I don't know. It seems kind of cold.
I know.
Seems unfortunate.
And couldn't they just give him courtside tickets on the other side? Glenn or KG. Put him in the Dumel seats for a night. Yeah, that's a good idea. The Bell Bank seats, apparently. That's not a bad idea. That's where Dumel's been for the whole run. That's a very good thought. I had one other... you mentioned the Lynx off to a undefeated 2-0 start. And the WNBA power rankings are already out, according to The Athletic. They waste no time. You can't make it up. Are we in the top 10? You know what? I got distracted. I actually started to look. At The Athletic? At The Athletic. All right, double check to see where we are. But no, we got to get to the second national ABC WNBA game Saturday afternoon, and that was Chicago versus Indy. That was Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. And the new and improved Fever, new coach, new supporting cast, destroyed. Yeah. What's Chicago? The Sky? The Sky. Destroyed the Sky. And there was this I didn't see because I was out and about, but there was a flagrant foul called on Clark on hammering Reese, correct? Yes. Now, the two of them at the time, Reese did get up, and then somebody mentioned,
One of the ways in which the Fever are a little bit different this year is Clark actually has teammates who come to her defense.
Yeah.
Which is very different than it was a year ago. And there was, they had to be, they had to basically be separated and parted. But the question for me is whether, because Clark seemed to blow it off, say, okay, you can call it whatever you want, but it was dismissive about the notion that it was a flagrant one foul. I haven't seen it. Was it flagrant one?
I'm surprised they upgraded it to flagrant one. It was one of those where she got the foul, and then they go to the monitor, and they upgraded it to a flagrant one. To me, it really shouldn't have been.
You thought it was not worthy?
I can go one. Again, they're winning by like 100. It's one of those fouls you see all the time.
Yes.
Reese got the ball. Clark was bitter because I think she thought Reese pushed, I don't know if it was Boston or whoever it was, to get the rebound.
I see.
Because Clark went from complaining to the ref to just hacking Reese. Then Reese fell down. Then she got up. I was fine either way, but of course, because it's Clark and Reese, it's been 24/7 since
100%,
then.
yeah.
Which is just exhausting, and I've actually tried to ignore all of it,
right?
Because we're 36 hours in, we're getting our latest WNBA think piece, which haven't we hit enough?
What is the cosmic significance of all? Why are we so interested in this? Is it not?
It's a hard foul. Both players said move on. Reese was short about it in her postgame, said basketball play, refs got it right, next question.
But I don't think we have to get that sociological on this one. Part of the reason there's enhanced interest is it's those two players with that history where, how many times did Reese do the old mocking hand thing? I mean, they go back a ways. So that's, to me, I don't think you have to be all that sociological about it. It's more, it has to do with that history. Now, if there was, and I think the WNBA says they're investigating, there's another allegation of racist, I don't know if it was a chant or a cat call or a comment.
Right.
We all know, what you have to do about that. You go after it, you nail it, you identify the individuals, you ban them from the building. It's not that difficult to do. It shouldn't be that difficult to understand why that's a bridge way, way too far, but I haven't seen anything there. Also, have we got any kind of follow-up regarding the Wolves? The Wolves said they were further investigating whether the second person allegedly involved in the Draymond racist comments towards him. Have we gotten any kind of follow up on where that story stands?
If there has been, I haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen it. I can tell you though that the Lynx have held their spot as number 2 in the WNBA power
Liberty
rankings.
won?
Liberty won.
Yeah.
Fever have moved up from 4 to 3.
Ooh, man.
Phoenix just surging up to 4 from 8.
Wow.
Vegas has dropped 2 spots from 3 to 5.
A lot can happen in one weekend.
Well, and here's it. The Washington Mystics.
Yeah.
I mean, leapfrogging everybody. They start in last at 13th.
Wow.
And are now 6th after, I guess, 2 games. They must have won both.
I bet you the Wizards are very envious because I don't think they've ever made that big a jump. Have you?
No.
Not in recent decades.
And they didn't even win the lottery either, which they were hoping to.
Paige Beckers, Denny Hecker, Black and Decker, Wolves in 5. Not bad. Double T Trent Tucker. He said, I don't want the Wolves to have to play Denver. He's going to get his wish. What does he expect will happen against OKC for your favorite basketball team?
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.
I got myself in a heap of trouble last week for extolling the virtues of what I like to believe is the state of basketball right here in Minnesota, with much of the puck community who the several individuals took offense of that. At the time, it was the Wolves on a roll, preparing to make it to the they had, at that point, wrapped up their series with Golden State. We had the Lynx, according to the WNBA general manager's survey at The Athletic, the best team, the team that's going to win the championship this year after almost getting there a year ago. I said, welcome to the state of basketball. Hockey, we can't even get out of the first damn round of the playoffs. I'm not sure, though, our next guest, surprisingly, will be an ally in this regard, because even though he played basketball, he's smack dab in the middle of the state of hockey. Double T, Trent Tucker, describe where you are right now.
Well, I'm in St. Paul, dropping kids off at a hockey rink.
It's amazing how the world works, isn't it?
That's very true.
You just never know, man. When you, back in the day in Michigan, could you ever foreseen a day where Double T, pro basketball immortality, would fight with a ring?
His banners in Williams Arena hanging from the rafters.
That's also true.
Number 32.
Would be hanging out in parking lots outside of hockey rinks on a regular basis.
I would have bet anybody anything that I have that I said there's no way that I would be in a hockey rink, watching kids play hockey. But, it's been fun. It's great. I'm learning a new sport.
Yep.
And the beauty of it is I can just be a dad. I don't have to coach. When if the game's at 1 o'clock, I show up I walk in at 12:55.
That's a very astute observation right there.
Fellow hockey dad who knows nothing about the game over here also loves that part of it. I just drop the kid off and watch the game. I don't know what's going on. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of hockey coach Phil Jackson would have been.
He would have been a good hockey coach.
Yeah, I probably would have. Probably been a good coach or anything.
He would have had the Zen stuff going on. He would have burned the sage in the locker room, so he'd have been good.
Oh, that'd be outstanding. Well, it's good to chat with you as always. We appreciate the time when you got a lot going on. Here's my toss-up. Sam Mitchell, who is on the show regularly and will be on with us again later this week. I texted him earlier during the show, and I said, who you got in this series? And he said Timberwolves. And I said, how many games? And he said 6. He's got, on the record, Wolves in 6. In fairness, he picked Wolves in 5 over the Lakers. He picked the Wolves in 5 over the Golden State Warriors, even after they lost the opener. So where's Double T? What do we expect, or what do you expect Wolves, Oklahoma City, starting tomorrow night?
Well, I think the Wolves are trying to make their first trip to the NBA Finals.
Wow. That's rarefied air, man.
And, and I look at these 4 teams who are playing, anyone is good enough, I think, to win the championship. But I believe the Wolves have the personnel to get it done. When they get it done, is only time to tell. But I think they have the pieces to the puzzle. And when you have the pieces to the puzzle, you put yourself in a very good situation to get to the NBA Finals, is because they can beat you in multiple ways.
Boom. Yeah.
And I think over the last few years, Tim Connelly has done a very good job of bringing in the right pieces to fit this team and put them in a good situation to be successful.
The versatility of not just the roster, but as you say, I think the ways they can play, right? That's because there may be teams. Oklahoma City statistically has a better defense. But what I think what the Wolves have is they're a top 10, analytically speaking, statistically, in terms of efficiency, offense and defense. And as you say, they can throw a lot of people out at you, and they can play small, play big. I really do think it's that they're good to very good in a number of spots, as opposed to necessarily being spectacular at any of them.
Well, I think that's spot on, and it's a team that on any given night, they can knock down 3-point shots, and when they're making 3-point shots, they're really tough to beat. But what they have shown me is that they have multiple guys who can come in and make a contribution in a timely fashion, to get a win coming down the stretch. And for any head coach, that's a great thing to have on your team.
All right. That said, give me, from your perspective, the most significant challenges that the Wolves are going to have to deal with successfully to get to the finals.
Well, for one, you got to take care of the basketball. Oklahoma City is a team that feasts on turnovers, and you saw it yesterday against Denver. The Nuggets get off to a good start, but all of a sudden they turn the basketball over and over again. And Oklahoma City likes to get out and run. So I think that's the first and foremost thing that the Wolves have to do. They have to take care of the ball. And then secondly, offensive rebound. Get to the glass, get some second and third chances. And if they can do those things consistently, they may find themselves facing Indiana or New York for a right to win the championship.
I do want to spend a little bit of time on that series, too, in a minute, because I know you have a lot of interest there as well with time spent in New York. But let's drill down a little deeper on the Wolves. It appears to this point that the story of these playoffs has been the emergence of Julius Randle, who's played well virtually since he came back from injury, but has had a terrific playoff run. He's shooting over 50%. He's scoring. He's passing. He is moving the ball. He's become a guy who can take the pressure off of Conley or Edwards or even Dante in terms of initiating the offense. What have you seen on Randle? And has any of it, based on his history, surprised you how well he has performed in this situation?
Well, yeah, it's because, when he was in New York or in other places, we didn't see a lot of him. So we heard about, he might be tough to play with. He's a ball-dominant guy. He doesn't make the pass at the right time. He wants to be a star. But I think once he got hurt, he was able to take a step back and look at this team differently. And also I believe that Chris Finch and the coaching staff, they had to make some adjustments as well. And they gave them a time to have that communication between the two to figure out, okay, how can we use this talent to benefit our team in the right way? And I think they have found that connection.
You, I believe on In the Zone, said you thought that the Wolves, you preferred that the Wolves, in terms of challenges, face Oklahoma City rather than Denver. Even with the Denver injuries, what was your feeling on that? Why did you go down that? Is it simple as Joker's too scary about what he might, in a given series, get to do, or why did you come to that? What made you come to that conclusion?
Well, I think our strength is up front. And when you look at Gobert and you got Naz Reid and you got Randle, the one guy that can break that wall down, I felt like that if they use him in the right way in a half-court setting, would be Jokic, because Gobert has a very difficult time, guarding Joker. We know that. And if he picks up 2 quick fouls, all of a sudden now you have to make a lot of adjustments on what you're going to do defensively. And I thought that he could break down, the major part of our team. I think we match up well with Oklahoma City. And even though they have a superstar in SGA, I think we got 3 guys that we can throw at him throughout this series that may wear him down. You can start out with Jaden McDaniel, and all of a sudden you come in, with Akil Alexander-Walker. And I think Donde DiVincenzo also could be another guy that you can throw at him. So you can throw multiple people at him throughout the course of this series, and it might be able to wear him down so that the Wolves can find themselves in a good position to win.
What is the key? Again, we know Oklahoma City's got a good defense. We know the Wolves do too. I have not been all that impressed with the OKC offense. To me, they look vulnerable there if they are facing a great defense. Denver is not a great defensive team. They've had stretches, I think, in the playoffs where they kind of rose up. But to me, that's what would be the alarm bell if I'm an Oklahoma City fan, is that their offense against a not great defense struggled, I thought, at times. Maybe it was just missing open shots. I don't know. But to me, that's another place where the Wolves, I think, defensively can, make them even more one-dimensional with SGA.
Right. If you don't turn the ball over, then they can't get easy baskets in transition.
Yeah.
And I believe that, even though Jalen Williams might be their second-best player, but he's not a go-to guy. He's not a guy that you can throw the ball to and say, okay, go get me 25. And, he's a guy that, he gets points off of steals. SGA can set him up off penetration to open him up for three-point shots. I believe that if we can force the other players to have to beat you off the dribble and not stand and not just be catch and shoot three-point shots, it makes it real tough for them to score. Because SGA is going to get his points. It's going to be hard just to shut him out, but we have 3 guys I think that can make him work to get his offense going. But the other guys, they don't scare me offensively in a one-on-one type situation. When you have a team that is a catch-and-shoot team off of a star player, we can take those guys out of the game. You can take those guys out of the game by making sure you stay home with them, and when the ball is coming to them, you're there on the catch, and you force them now to have to beat you in a one-on-one type situation. And we saw that last series when Steph Curry went out. Guys like Buddy Hield and some of the other offensive players for the Golden State Warriors, they had a tough time finding their offense.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't have that one creator on the floor that could help them get their offense.
You've been around a long time when it comes to coaches politicking during playoff series. Phil Jackson was the master at that in terms of trying to manipulate officials by things he would say on the off day. I want you to listen to a couple comments from Chris Finch. This goes back, Gaardsy, how far? Late regular season?
Yeah, a couple of months ago, probably the last time they played.
Exactly, but it's coming up again now because Oklahoma City obviously is the team they're playing. Let's listen to what Finchy said then.
It's so frustrating to play this team because they foul a ton. They really do. They foul all the time. And then, you can't really touch Shea. And it's a very frustrating thing, and it takes a lot of mental toughness to try to play through it. We just eventually were able to get downhill and force the issue ourselves, and we're rewarded for it.
Okay, so does this fall under the classification of politicking, or is this really something we are going to have to watch? Because seeing how referees officiate, if you buy his notion, then it's one of those series where you're going to pay attention to how closely the officials are willing to hold Oklahoma City accountable if that's sort of part of their game. Foul on every possession, knowing that that referees can't call a foul every time down. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if you become the aggressor, you kind of put the officials in a situation on how they're going to call the game. And SGA is a guy that loves to get to the free throw line, and I think he can flop every once in a while, against this defender to try to get some easy points from that standpoint. But the Wolves, they know they have to defend without fouling. It's a team that you don't want to put on the foul line, and if you come out and set the tone from a standpoint of being aggressive right from the start, that's going to put the officials in the mindset that, hey, let these guys just play.
This does appear to be a series in which both teams are not afraid to play their bench, right? That was part of the issue that Denver was coming up against. Obviously, same with Golden State, especially when you add injuries. I hope the benches don't get shorter. Because I kind of like a series in which you're finding out the quality of the team, both of these teams, is directly related to the number of players, especially as you say defensively, that the respective coaches are not afraid to use.
Yeah, and when you put a team together, you're hoping at the start of the season that you can have 8 or 9 guys, that you can go to. Pat Riley always, he's always said, he'll play 7, he believes in 6, he only trusts 5. and so I think the Wolves have a much deeper bench, and throughout a long playoff series, at some point in time, you're going to need one of those guys to have a game or have a moment. And, DiVincenzo is a guy that is a proven playoff player. Alexander Walker has played well at playoff time also. So when you know that you can trust a guy to give you 4, 5, or 6, or 7 good minutes, that's a huge plus for any basketball team.
The Wolves have had a couple of stretches. We had who do we have on this subject? That the hope was that. I think it may have even been Conley. It was Tim Conley, and this was before I think or as the playoffs were beginning, that he and the coaches want the Wolves to run more. That in fact he thought that was something they didn't take full advantage of with some pretty athletic guys. In the Lakers series, I think it was a game 2, one of the games early. They ran well and effectively. Mm-hmm. They haven't been consistent with it. Is this a series you want to run with Okie City, or is that dangerous? What do you think? How much running would you like to see the Wolves do in this series?
I think you should have a balance to what you do, is because you don't want to negate, what I believe can be your strength is your inside guys.
Right.
If you got Gobert in the game, you don't want to make the game too fast because you take away now what he can do on the defensive end. So you want to kind of have a base and a balance, and you want to kind of control tempo. Now, when he goes out, you bring in Naz Reid. Okay, now if you want to speed the game up because you see opportunities to do that, now you can go to that game. So that's why I like what the Wolves have put together, is because when you know that you can do different things throughout the course of the game, now you find yourself in a much better situation, to play different brands of basketball and have a chance to win.
Let's broaden this out a little bit beyond this series. Is it time to accept for Wolves fans, and this is hard in this town because they were bad as long as they've been, a lot of scar tissue, but is it time, regardless of whether they advance out of this round and make it to the finals and even, perish the thought beyond, is it time to sort of relax and say, no, this is a franchise that is now NBA relevant, and there's no reason to believe, barring cataclysmic injury, that it won't be relevant in a significant way, that this is a new era of Wolves basketball where this is one of the more respected franchises in the league.
I agree with you, and it's because, every team that has a window for 4, 5, or 6 years, they have a guy. Mm-hmm. And the Wolves got a guy in Anthony Edwards. They have a guy. And when you have a guy who's young and talented, that can take over a game, and all of a sudden now he's growing as a basketball player, realizing how to balance off his game, to bring his teammates along, to make them better in certain situations, you have a chance to stay in that window. And your best player has to be able to do two things when the shot clock gets down below 12 seconds. He has to be able to make a shot for himself, or he has to be able to make a play for somebody else. And Anthony Edwards is that guy. So he gives you a chance over the next 4 or 5 years with the collection of talent that the Wolves are seeing that they're bringing together to stay in that window to be a contender for a long time.
Is this a series where you think he's going to have to be a more consistent scorer, or is this a series where he just has to read the situation and just still continue to make the right basketball play? What do you think?
I think read and react. Not try to do too much. There's going to be moments where you're going to need for him maybe to have one of those, 8, 9, 10-point situations where he can put together. But your best player has to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. And just by playing with Michael, he would come out some nights and say, okay, I'm going to get this guy into the game early. I got to get this guy into the game now so that, okay, when it's my time to take over, and the defense makes adjustments in terms of trying to take me out of the game, now this guy is confident. I can go back to him in the latter part of the game knowing that I have gotten him off to a good start, so he's ready to perform under pressure.
Will the Knicks be, if the Wolves make it, as you are predicting, and as Sam Mitchell is predicting, will they be facing New York or Indiana?
Well, if you ask me to speak with my heart or my mind. With my heart, I would love to see the Knicks get there. Yep. And I heard you guys talking earlier about, all these other guys now going to games, and some of them had a very short stint with the New York Knicks, and they're just loving things as if they've been, loyal New York Knicks fans for a very long time. But, just like here, New York City has been starving for a long time to see the Knicks get themselves in a situation where they could win a championship. They haven't won a championship since the early 70s. And to see Minnesota and New York play for an NBA championship, that would be a great thing to see. It
would be fun. It really, really would. I think the Pacers are tough. I love the way they play, Trent. They are in a league where the feeling is too many teams play the same. They don't, man. They never stop.
Rick Carlisle is a very good coach. Yeah. I like Rick Carlisle. He and I played together for a year in New York, and he just has a great feel for the game. And when he was able to knock off in Miami, with the big three and the dream team, and he was able to use J.J. Barrera in a situation where he could be effective. The smallest guy on the floor made a huge difference for the Dallas Mavericks when they won their championship with Dirk Nowitzki. But I just think that Rick Carlisle is a guy that he's been around for a long time. He's learned his craft from so many good coaches, and he's not going to beat himself. So Indiana will be a very tough out for the New York Knicks.
Double T, in your prime as a player, who would you have preferred to play for, Finchie or Tibbs?
Oh, Finch for sure.
No question?
Because no doubt about it.
How come?
It's because he likes, he likes guys to take 3-point shots. And that was
more. Well, Tibbs has come around a little bit. I think he's had to, right? It took him a while, right?
Right. But I think he's a little bit more offensive minded.
Yes.
Even though Tibbs is doing a very good job with Jalen Brunson, but I like the ball action, the movement action, player movement, ball movement that Chris Finch brings to the table.
Yeah.
So if I had to choose between the two, he would be the guy that I would like to play.
That makes some sense, actually, on several levels. One other Knicks question, because you and I haven't talked about this. I'm very curious to get your view on it. You can't argue with Brunson as a finisher, right? The guy, and again, right. He is so old school. Footwork, right? It's just angles, just creating space. The guy is remarkable and tough, even though he's little. But yeah. I do think there have been times I've watched the Knicks this year, and I've said, you have to include Karl occasionally. You cannot, there's no point in getting him if you're going to ignore him. And it's funny because this last game where they dominated, maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But part of what they seem to do is we're going to get Karl involved early. We're going to get him the ball early. And it's my one exasperation with the Knicks is there's stretches where I get you got to close with Jalen. It's hard to argue with him as a closer. But to me, they've got to do a better job of more consistently, resisting the notion that Cat just becomes invisible.
That's true. I mean, because he is so valuable to what they do. He helps balance out the offense. He's very good in the pick and roll with Jalen Brunson because Jalen Brunson is going to draw that second defender. Karl is a really good pick and pop guy from the 3-point line, but also he's a skilled big man that can play with his back to the basket. And when coaches sometimes, they get into the game plan, they say, I got to go to this guy, Maybe it's where Jalen Brunson, as he continues to play with Karl Anthony Towns, he would take a step back and say, hey, you know what? No, we got to get the ball to the big fella because we need to get him into the game as well.
Double T, it's always a pleasure. In fact, I'm looking at a tweet from a listener, Sam. There is no old school basketball talker as good as Double T, respects his generation and gives the current one their flowers as well. I could not agree more. I know Gaardsy does as well. And look, the beauty of your position is you were on the Wolves early before, again, it was all that fashionable. I mean, in fact, you said you wanted them to play the Lakers the first round when a lot of people nationally were saying the Lakers are going to win the series in 5. So we always appreciate your insights. We always appreciate catching up. And good luck in your continuing effort to become a big part of the hockey fabric in the Twin Cities.
I'm trying to do my best, Dan. Thanks for having me.
I think, Trent, all we need to do is, because you're at a rink every night, just call the hotline every time you're just in a parking lot. After you've, called Ewing, you've called Michael, anytime. You've called your old teammates, and you're out of teammates.
I got, if I can't talk to you guys, my kids inside the hockey rink, I'm just walking around the neighborhood trying to get some steps in, I said, do I sit in the car for an hour, or do I go out and get some exercise? And when the weather's nice, exercise it sounds a whole lot better. But you know what? It would be great to talk to you guys more often as well.
It's we'll definitely work on that. Thanks again, Double T. We appreciate you.
Okay. Anytime. Thanks.
Take care. Trent Tucker with great basketball analysis. And let's do this. We'll pause. We've got a full 30 minutes yet to go in today's proceeding. We'll get to proceedings. We'll get to a couple of texts.
Discover the life-changing benefits of Meow Greens for your cat. Ever see your cat slowing down or having health issues and wonder, what can I do to make them better? Well, my friend, add Meow Greens to your cat's food for 90 days, and I guarantee you'll see changes that will amaze you. Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, inventor of Meow Greens, and I invite you to take the Meow Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 30 days, you'll see shinier coats and increased energy. By day 60, your cat will have a stronger immune system, less shedding, improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients that you've added to their diet. And at 90 days, they're going to have better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you may even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch a free Jumpstart trial bag for your cat today. Go to trymeowgreens.com. Use promo code TRYMEOW. That's try, M-E-O-W. You discover the shipping. You don't have to change your cat's food to improve your cat's health. Just add a packet of Meow Greens.
Next year.
With the homies coming to you live before and after every game of the Western Conference Finals, thanks to Youngsteads. Max and Parker, join them. They'll get you ready for each game, and then they will be with you after every game as well. You can listen right here on KFAN or the free iHeartRadio app, or you can watch it at KFAN.com/watch.
Quick departure to the A section. I need some help from the audience at large. Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line 64686, or perhaps the producer of the show as well. I throw this out at the risk of perhaps weakening my DFL Dan bona fides, but it appears that the Minneapolis police chief is in the meat grinder, and I'm trying to figure out why. I don't know if you saw the story, but apparently the New York Post has spent some time in recent weeks in the Twin Cities putting together a story as we approach the 5-year anniversary next Sunday since the George Floyd murder. And the reporter, Dana Kennedy, had some time apparently with Police Chief Brian O'Hara. And O'Hara apparently said that, you know, he was first accustomed to working in a Democratic city when he worked in Newark, New Jersey. But he told Dana Kennedy that nothing had prepared him for the, quote, ultra-liberal orthodoxy. That's the way the Post put it. I don't know if that's a direct quote or not. That he says he has encountered in Minneapolis. Here's the direct quote, according to the story. Here it's very, very ideological. And a lot of times it's like reality and facts can't get through the filter. It's a very detached, bourgeois, liberal mentality. It's bizarre. Alert the media, Lindbergh, baby, I would say. What exactly did he say that ruffled feathers other than, I think, the truth? Now, we can argue about whether a Minneapolis police chief should be saying these things, given the history and sensitivities, I guess. But I don't know how. I mean, I don't have much argument with that. Now, a number of the there's quotes here from several members of the Minneapolis City Council. They're not pleased. There was the suggestion that from the council president, Elliot Payne, progressives in Minneapolis are not a monolith. Well, that all depends on whose ox is being gored. I mean, we can play that game. There are a million assessments, declarations that are made in which you could say, well, isn't that kind of a generalization? But that's really never stopped members of the city council from making some of those generalizations, I would say, when it's convenient for them to do it. I give now the chief. I don't know if the chief has spoken since. There's a quote here. This was in a Star Tribune story in which a spokesman for the police, Minneapolis police, released a statement Saturday clarifying, so to speak, O'Hara's comments. Maybe that in reaction to the hubbub that apparently has resulted to these comments, I'm assuming already having appeared in the New York Post. As the chief has said previously, policing in the city has become overly politicized, making it difficult to even discuss the need for effective and adequately resourced police without it being viewed through a rigid ideological lens. That's the disconnect, not with residents, but with political narratives that overshadow the real and urgent safety concerns residents are living with every day. I'll say again, I mean, truth is a defense, isn't it? I don't think there's anything particularly controversial about what's being said here. And I give the chief credit for, at least through this statement, not doing the Sirwanga backpedal totally and saying, I'm sorry if I hurt any feelings regarding the statements that I made. There's quotes here. Let me see who this one is from. Councilmember Katie Cashman. City leaders have funded O'Hare's department to the amount he asked of us and have improved recruitment and retention with pay raises. For clarification, the city council diverted $1.8 million from the mayor's proposed police budget. That still left the budget $12 million higher than in the previous year. And that's part of the point the council member, Katie Cashman, makes. We expect the chief to be working diligently to reform and rebuild trust with Minneapolis residents. But these disdainful comments do the opposite. I would say respectfully that the chief obviously should be continuing to work diligently to reform and rebuild trust. And I could say, in my view, you can do that and still have the opinion after the amount of time he has worked here. It's been a while now, based on the experiences he has, coming to the conclusion that he did. Let's be honest. What bothers these individual council members is their feelings are hurt. They disagree. They have a right to disagree, but that doesn't necessarily mean the chief is wrong. And I guess, like I said in the larger question, I have to believe, and maybe I'm too optimistic here, that there are a lot of lefties who aren't as far left as this city council, which is very far left, let's be honest, largely, who also might whisper. Maybe they won't say it out loud, but would say, well, yeah, I mean, the chief's, he's got a point here. I mean, maybe people don't want to hear it, but yeah, he's not that far off. So I don't even think, to be honest, it's all that controversial. It's controversial here because of this city council. Quite frankly, which, how many times have we said it? I mean, Mayor Fry is, I think, a fairly confirmed left of center guy, right? I don't think anybody would, confuse him with someone who's even a centrist or right of center for sure. Not that anybody right of center can be elected here. We know that. That's not even possible at this point. But he does look like a centrist at best, lunatic right-winger at worst compared to the city council. So I actually give the chief credit for, he's going to get a lot of grief, especially with the timing. And none of this, to me, changes the Floyd story or the need to continue the reform. I don't even think the chief would disagree with that. But I think part of what he's saying is if there's an inability or an unwillingness to follow the story specifically, the details of a specific police act or the story moving forward, I'm talking about, to the degree that it feels like it becomes more performative for this city council, then he's gonna call people on it. He was asked a couple of questions. Now, again, you can, the Star Tribune tries hard to dismiss, it appears, what he is saying because they note that it's the New York Post that is the paper that's doing this particular story, and they describe the Post as a tabloid generally considered to be a conservative publication. It is a conservative publication. I don't have a problem with that, but I doubt we would see the same sort of description for a publication that might be viewed as a little bit left of center. I could be wrong, but I doubt it because it almost seems to be an effort to dismiss that there might be any kind of validity to this sort of thing, which to me is a waste of time. It should be a Post reporter spent some time here. Here are the quotes, and then let people decide. But I think deep down, I'm never going to be able to prove it, that there are a lot of lefties in this town who are saying, yeah, this isn't what I had in mind, and there is a middle ground to be gained on this. And so the idea that now the chief, at least in some circles, I mean, I get it. I mean, he'll be championed by righties, and they'll have their own agenda, their own reason, because it all depends on whose ox is being gored. But I'm not talking about those who make their decisions on the front end regardless because of who's doing the talking or what they're saying. I'm saying I think, just like I think there are some lefties, I know there are some lefties who on Moriarty are beyond concerned about the direction that she has taken her office. At some point it's academic if you're not going to, do anything about it politically, I guess, right? If everybody being elected is that much of an ideologue, and we got a lot of that in this town, then, you could say, well, that's until you vote differently, it's not likely to change. But I don't really think, I kept reading, it's like, whoa, what did he do? What did he say? It's not very, very ideological. It's not like a lot of times reality and facts can't get through the filter. That's just demonstrably true, provable, pretty much time after time. Now, the detached, maybe they didn't like the bourgeois. What does bourgeois mean?
That's the thing. I don't think anybody even really knows.
I say it all the time, but I never know what it means. Liberal mentality. Maybe that was it. Maybe he stuck the needle in a little bit too harshly, but sometimes that's what you got to do to make a point. And I don't think this is a chief who, when you lay out his policies and a lot of the things he says regarding equity issues, I would call them pretty front and center, declarative about the importance of those issues and those initiatives. I don't think this is a guy who's coming at it in a way that he has no acknowledgement of the history of this police department. But it makes me chuckle to think that's like, well, but we better get some comments from people because did you hear what the chief had to say? Deep down, again, we're not going to probably get this honesty, but there's a lot of people who would say the exact same thing about this city council, period.
Bourgeois, is that Bourgeois?
It is.
Means relating to or typical of the middle class.
Oh.
If someone says, oh, how bourgeois, it's probably an insult, meaning you're preoccupied with middle class small-mindedness.
Oh, well.
As a noun, a bourgeois is a member of the middle class, originally a member of the middle class in France. That according to vocabulary.com.
Well, I don't even know if it fits in this case, but maybe it's it sounded good when he said it.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's exactly what he believes. I'll be very curious to see if at some point he feels cornered enough that he's going to have to talk it back. But the first statement that wasn't, again, directly from him, but from somebody apparently representing him was he didn't do much of a backpedal there. And I think the distinction he tried to make in that statement was in reaction to the note that from Cashman that you got to rebuild trust with Minneapolis residents. And he's saying, my issue isn't with the residents. My issue is with political narratives. And those political narratives, guess what they do? They sometimes make it difficult for residents to get a full understanding of the story if what they're hearing seems to be more performative and there doesn't seem to be a willingness to get into the weeds of the specifics of any given case or any given situation, rather than these sort of flowery statements that tend to get thrown out from time to time. So we'll keep an eye on that and see where it goes from here. We'll come back, wrap up the show, remind you what you might have missed earlier today.
Ever notice your dog slowing down and having health issues and wonder, what can I do to make them better? Well, my friend, add Rough Greens to your dog's food for 90 days, and I guarantee you'll see changes that will amaze you. Greetings. Naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, inventor of Rough Greens here, and I invite you to give your pup the Rough Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 30 days, you'll see shinier coats and increased energy. By day 60, your dog will have a stronger immune system, less shedding, improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients that you've added to their diet. And at 90 days, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you may even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch your dog a free Jumpstart trial bag today. Go to tryroughgreens.com. Use promo code TRYROUGH. That's TRYRUFF. Go to tryroughgreens.com. Use promo code TRYROUGH. You discover the shipping. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens.
Prepare you for tomorrow's
programming on the Fan and the show wrap, brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washers since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper show wrap.
If you're a baseball fan that is starting to pay a little bit more attention to the Minnesota Twins, good conversation today with the manager of the club. Rocco Baldelli was in very Baldelli Lama-like mode on a number of fronts today. And he joined between 4 and about 4:40. We went long with him. So podcast the 4 o'clock hour of the broadcast. Great basketball analysis from Double T Trent Tucker, who joined at about 5:30 tonight. Tuesday is generally a Louis day. We both think he's going to be in studio, but it's more likely it's going to be Wednesday this week. So we'll double check. We'll keep you posted via X about the Louis schedule because we still want to give you your hockey fix, and we always look forward to in-studio visits with Luigi.
He may have seen rain in the forecast for the next 3 days and just turned the plane around.
Tonight is supposed to start getting rainier, and then tomorrow's supposed to be miserable, right? Like mid-40s and rain all day.
Correct.
I think was the last forecast that I saw. And then hopefully we head in a better direction. We do know, confirmed, Johnny Athletic will file a live report from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, tomorrow. So Johnny will be a part of the festivities. Sam Mitchell kind of, committed to weekly visits with us as long as the Wolves are still in the playoffs. So we expect him later in the week, and we're working on a couple of other ideas as well. But tomorrow will be our official pick the series day. Sam Mitchell has already picked Wolves in 6. Double T didn't pick games, but said the Wolves should win. He thinks they have the pieces to get it done. The odds makers obviously do not agree. And look, Oklahoma City doesn't have vast championship equity, but they won, 68 games?
I think that's what it was,
Wasn't they like 20 games better than anybody else in the conference?
Yeah, they were really good.
And they finished strong against Denver. It took longer than it should have, quite frankly. But they're here, and they do have home court advantage. I meant to get to that with you. We'll do it tomorrow. The home court advantage numbers are interesting. The trend suggests not as important as it once was.
Yeah.
In recent years, but that's obviously what the Wolves have to hope for.
Except in Oklahoma City, where they don't allow anybody outside of Oklahoma in the building.
That was part of
it's the only time.
That was part of the discussion for sure, 100%. All right, and tonight is a Fan on Demand night.
It is.
And then it will be the Dan Patrick Show. We'll follow Fan on Demand. No games tonight. We're not at a point now where we're down to 4 teams.
Right.
So there'll be, I think, largely games every other night once it starts tomorrow. But that's what happens. You get used to games almost every night, and they're not. By the way, meanwhile, your Dallas Stars, conference finals, 3rd straight year.
Brett Blakemore's Dallas Stars.
Very high in the club.
He loves them.
He reminded us several times on sermons that he's been on this club despite the heat that he has received from several sources.
Including Pat Micheletti.
Is that right?
Oh, apparently Micheletti and Fallness just roasted him when he brought it up like a month ago.
Hey, there's already a Twins game postponement text that's come in, so that wouldn't be surprising. Yeah, we'll double-check that if that's the case because the weather's supposed to be kind of crappy tonight. So listen to Rocco, podcast Rocco. Get your baseball fix that way. We'll talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock.
Dean Blevins, News 9, Oklahoma City.
I can't understand you. Food in your mouth.
I didn't expect you that quickly, Coach. I'm sorry.
I'm being serious. I can't understand a word you're saying.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, is telling everyone, let's face it in therapy. By talking or texting with a supportive, licensed therapist at Talkspace, you can face whatever is holding you back, whether it's mental health symptoms, relationship drama, past trauma, bad habits, or another challenge that you need support to work through. It's easy to sign up. Just go to Talkspace.com and you'll be paired with a provider, typically within 48 hours. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule. Plus, Talkspace is in-network with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Make your mental health a priority and start today. If you're not covered by insurance, get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com and enter promo code SPACE80.